Okay, so let's talk about redemption. Why is redemption important? Alexa, delete my notifications.
Delete all your notifications, right?
Yes.
Okay, deleted your notifications.
All right, so I waited a week because I'm just going to spell all of this out right here and now. Spoilers, lots of spoilers, plenty of spoilers, all the spoilers you can handle. Grab a shovel or a spoon because we're going to talk about it. So the first, I don't even know where to start. I do know where to start. I have a whole list, and it's in the order that it appeared on the screen, and I don't. So let's jump right in to the most important part of the episode. Okay, the most important part of the episode comes at the very end, the very very end. There's a crashed TIE fighter. Look, man, spoilers. I'm going to finish my sentence here in a second. I'm going to give you a brief pause where I'm going to wave my arms around like this, and the screen's going to say spoilers all the way across. Spoilers. If you haven't watched it, what's wrong with you? It's been a week. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to jump in. The most important part of the episode, the most critically important part about the episode, beyond the Guy Ritchie style snatch, bricktop, nemesis speech by Moff Tarkin, happens to be the end of the episode where his TIE fighter is crashed in the desert and the Jawas are picking it for parts, and there is a black glowing white object that protrudes through the hull of the TIE fighter and cuts open a hole that gets kicked loose by Moff Gideon, and he stands there with this weird lightsaber looking device in his hands. So that tells us a whole bunch of stuff. For those of you who don't know, that is the Darksaber. The Darksaber is a lightsaber that was made by a Mandolorian Jedi centuries ago, long time ago in an even further galaxy far away, right? Whose last name is Vizsla. Oh, that's another thing I gotta add. So Vizsla, right? Vizsla being the baddest of the bad Mandalorian Jedi, the only one accepted into the order that we know of in canon thus far, and that canon comes from the Clone Wars, crafted the Darksaber. So, here's what we know. The fact that Moff Gideon is wielding the Darksaber means that he was most likely an instrumental agent in the purge of the Mandalorians. And he alludes to some of that when he reveals our main character's name being Djarin. So that's critically important, right? So we know that he's been poking around in the information that was stored on Mandalore about both the foundlings and was able to recover the Darksaber, which, depending on your view of the situation, may or may not have been a difficult task. So that stands out to me. What also stands out to me is how awesome Moff Gideon's character is. So we get another critical part is the fact that his blaster was able to penetrate the helmet, or what seems to penetrate the helmet of Din Djarin. And so that's another critical piece, and I'm going to stop saying critical at least 7 more times, of his understanding of Mandalore, Beskar Steel, and the whole enclave, right? But GanCarlo Esposito really has this presence, and his speech is so good because it, without screaming and being crazy like, the redheaded dude from the new movies, he conveys this sense of fear and pandemonium in a surgical, calm, controlled fashion. Like, I'm going to handle my business, and my business is being a threat to your existence. I have a Instagram post that says that's his quote, if you're asking if you can trust me, you cannot. So he's clear about how evil and reticent he is about tearing apart these people for what he wants to get. But all of that's thrown apart by the beginning of the episode. And the beginning of the episode is fascinating because we get some real good comedy vibes. Now, for me, I think the beginning of the episode is a great depiction of every service member who's ever stood a watch and been trying to get something done and is just being plagued by the politics of the situation. And they make some really good jokes about that. They also play to the fact that stormtroopers can't hit anything, which is brilliant. But we also get this social media outrage for the punching of the baby Yoda, which to me, I think the scene would not have been as perfect without that element, because it truly emphasizes the fact that nobody really knows whether the child, whether baby Yoda is a pet or a real thing or a snack or whatever. And so I think that comes across really well in this scene. And then we get IG-11, who comes in and quickly dispatches the two scout troopers and then rips into town, kind of throwing some wrenches into Moff Gideon's plans. And I think that scene is fantastic because it shows why Grief Karga ends up saying, "I love IG units." I think another element that we cover really well in this episode is how Cara Dune's character is angry at the Imperials. She's from Alderaan, so that adds to her necessity for violence and her absolute panic in wanting to escape that room and not get captured and not get tortured. And we hear about the Mind Flayer, and we don't know whether that's a device that was alluded to in the sequels, or if that's something that we've already seen. So we get some more of the lore and mythos of the show. The human element that's added of Grief Karga throwing down shots while all of this panic is ensuing is fantastic, I think. IG-11 gets to deliver some fantastic lines, and we thank Mr. Watiti for those. We get the "I'm not a living creature," which allows Djarin to remove his helmet and get healed. Bacta spray is a thing. I hope that comes to a pharmacy near us soon. And we get the fantastic, your central processing unit is damaged. That was meant to be a joke to put you at ease, which I think for someone who spent 8 episodes with his face covered, what is his name? Shoot. Pedro Pascal does a great job of conveying his emotions of confusion and kind of a little bit of mirth and being in a lot of pain. I think that came across really well. What didn't come across to me, and I'm going to beat on it, I really think the Flame Troopers' swagger and bravado was a bit obnoxious. I get it. He's going to set everything on fire. They're just like, he could have had a stogie sticking out of a hole chopped into the faceplate of his helmet for all of the bravado that he was carrying across the set. So, whatever. The pile of Mandalorian armor that's being salvaged by the armorer is fantastic. We get really deep in not only into the covert but the creed of the Mandalorians and what now Din Djarin is responsible for. I think that's a critical piece. And the line, I'm supposed to find where this baby's from and return it to a planet filled with enemy sorcerers, is a fantastic line. I'm sure I butchered that from a syntax point of view, but I love the fact that the mythology of the Jedi has now turned them into sorcerers, and just there's a sense of presence that the Jedi have that even the Mandalorians are taken aback by. The hammer and tongs fight, or really ass-kicking of the 5 stormtroopers in the armorer's space is fantastic. I love the fact that we get some debris from smashing helmets and stuff from that. I had a chuckle when Cara Dune decided that it was time for her to use her machine gun yet again to get the lava skiff moving again. It kind of reminded me of Full Metal Jacket and Animal Mother, in that, you know, she's going to be happy as long as somebody's throwing grenades at her or giving her an excuse to use her firearms. Another thing that I saw on the internet that kind of cracks me up is how many people were upset by the long-legged R2 unit. I thought that was a brilliant piece. I think it's neat that there are these custom droids that are finally showing up in the universe and giving us some views into other things that are possible. And, you know, Watiti gets to round out his role by telling Din Djarin not to be sad. And that really kind of shows the emotional transition that his character has made from the beginning of the episode to the end of the episode, by letting his orphaned state, his personal orphaned state, and his relationship with the child become his transformation into a kind of a caring soul, kind of. But we also get to see an amazing aspect of Din Djarin's childhood, in that they finally give us the entire shot of the flashbacks that we've been seeing through the episodes. And I think that's important because it gives us a viewpoint of how much of a force Clan Vizsla was in the foundation of Din Djarin, and how prevalent they were in the history of the universe. And we get to see some really cool action shots with a bunch of other not scrappy, kind of thrown together Mandalorians, but obviously a clan that's got their stuff wired tight and they're ready to hand out the hurt. So there was a lot of really good stuff there. The Rising Phoenix. So we get the whirly birds. No, they're not whirly birds. They're whispering birds. So we get the whispering birds in episode 3, and now we get the Rising Phoenix. And the Rising Phoenix is dope, and it kind of completes his armor along with his Mudhorn signet, which at some point is going to end up on this wall over here. We'll work on that, and that's going to bring us into another point of conversation here in a second. So he gets his jetpack. He tells the armorer that he did his drills as a child, and yet immediately throws it on at the end of the episode and does what he needs to do to kind of take the fight out of GanCarlo Esposito's character, Moff Gideon. So, like, all in all, it's a fantastic episode that really rounds out everything that we've been looking for in this show, and brings to conclusion what I think is really interesting, in that there were a lot of folks that were saying, hey, why do we do all this story building, world building with the couple of middle episodes 4, 5, and 6 seem to be kind of empty and seemed to be kind of empty and pointless, because, you know, we really want to know what's going to happen with Baby Yoda. But I think it does two things, and I would wager a guess that they knew they were going to run season 2 before they even announced that they were going to run season 2. I think they knew that it was going to be a fantastic show and valuable to them, so they chose to go ahead and write in those episodes so that we have some backstory to carry over into season 2. I think we'll see some of those Bill Burr's character possibly, or maybe unfortunately we'll see some characters from Tatooine again, or who knows. We could potentially see some more content that was alluded to in this season's episodes and get carried over into the next. And I think that I didn't have notes for this part, so I think I ran out of things to say. I think that it's important that you go back and you watch all the episodes and you realize they did a really fantastic job of world building in the universe, even though there were some kind of one-off fluff. I don't want to call them fluff. I think that they're important, critical parts of building the Djarin's character and building the mystery behind Baby Yoda, because or the child, because we don't really know anything, and the universe really doesn't know anything about this creature. So, again, fantastic series, fantastic episode. I think it well rounded out and closed out the show, and we also get to talk about what's going on around me. So, I would pull the camera off, but it'll be shaky and crazy like that. So, we won't do that. But as you can see, there are some things that are happening here. Right above me is a rack to hang some more equipment on. There are shelves behind us for more props and games. We are just on the cusp of launching a new channel that will be both a tabletop game and variety show here out of our basement. And I'm excited to share that with you. So there will be some announcements on this channel, as well as a full social media press to get the word out about our new channel. But we're still working out some of the last details. So as we do that, there will be some teasers on my show as well. I'll continue to do show reviews. I'm going to dig into The Expanse Season 4 with a quick recap of the previous seasons coming up here next. And after The Expanse, I'll start working through maybe some anime or some other Star Wars content, or whatever else I can get my hands on. So if you like the channel, please do all that stuff down below that you would normally do, that everybody else begs for. And we will talk to you next time around. Thanks. Bye.